Loud and clear. Thank you.
Voice check.
No pressure, Jody. Don't say that.
The worst is Bob would have to run the communication system. That would be the worst, right, Bob?
It's possible, but you know what? I was a case evaluator last month and I had, believe it or not, 2 guys older than me on it and they wanted me to run the whole day. I didn't drop anybody. But I had to call my daughter in advance and say, you better give me a 5-minute tutorial real quick. So she typed it up and I followed it.
Hey, we've got resources.
Jody, when we get started, I'll turn my camera off and my voice off, and then if anything comes up, I'll just, click back in.
Hey, Jody. I don't see either my camera or the mic icon on the screen. Is that standard here, to shut my sound down or anything, or? I don't have the icon for either the camera or the speaker where you can cut it off. Is that over the picture? Yeah, I'm not even, my picture ain't even up there. I can see you, but I'm not there. I don't know what am I doing wrong? You are viewing administrator admit ad screen. I don't want to screw things up here. No, I can see you. That's it. No. Let's see.
Hey, Hank, look at the upper right-hand corner of the screen, your screen. If you move your cursor anywhere on the picture, the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll have a little button that says View.
Gotcha.
Click that.
Okay.
And then just hit Side-by-Side Gallery. Okay. And that'll give you all the thumbnails and the screen that Jody's sharing.
Side-by-side. Okay. Got it. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jody. Thank you. Man, technology.
No problem. If I could just remember to go off mute when it's my turn to speak, I'll be great.
How's the cabin?
Moved inside tonight, Hank. It's a little chilly out there.
Okay. Need another extension cord.
Right. Exactly.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Josh.
Thanks, Kevin.
Josh, your name is spelled wrong.
Thanks, I noticed that. I had to jump back in because I had a problem with my connection. So I'll fix that. Thanks.
I've got 6:58, Jody. I have 2 minutes. Is that what you have? Okay. Okay, Jody, I have 7 o'clock. Is everyone ready? I'd like to call to order the regular Township Board meeting of Chesterfield Township, February 9th, 2021. It is 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag
flag
Flag of the United
of the
States of
United
America.
States of America and to the
To the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice
and
for
justice
all.
for all. Treasurer Elliott. Here. Trustee Anderson.
Here. Correction, here from Chesterfield Township, my residence, sorry.
And Treasurer Elliott, you're calling in from?
I'm here in my office at the Township Municipal Building.
Trustee Demink.
here from my home in Chesterfield.
Trustee Joseph.
I'm present from Chesterfield Township.
Trustee Vosberg.
I'm present from my home office in Chesterfield Township, Michigan.
And this is Clerk Cindy Berry, and I am present from Sunrise, Florida. Supervisor Acciavatti is absent this evening. Do I have a motion to excuse Supervisor Acciavatti from the meeting this evening?
Move to excuse Supervisor Acciavatti.
Support.
Second. We have a motion on the floor by Trustee Vosberg, supported by Treasurer Elliott, to excuse Supervisor Acciavatti from the meeting this evening. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you. At this time, because our chair is excused from this meeting, we will need to have a motion, if I may ask for a motion to appoint a permanent chair for this meeting only.
Motion to nominate Clerk Berry as the permanent chair of this meeting only.
Do I have support?
I'll support that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion by Treasurer Elliott, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to appoint Clerk Berry the permanent chair of this meeting. Treasurer Elliott.
A. Yes.
Trustee. Trustee Vosberg, you're muted.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson,
Aye.
trustee Joseph,
Aye.
trustee Demink,
Aye.
and clerk Berry, aye. Thank you. Moving on to our next agenda, we have presentations. We have no presentations scheduled this evening. Moving on to item 6, agenda item 6 is department reports. Do we have any department reports? Any department heads wishing to give a report?
I got stuff from Parks and Leisure Services, Cindy, when you have time.
Okay.
And something from the treasurer's desk.
Okay, are there any other board members that have department reports to provide this evening? Seeing none, let's start with trustee Demink.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Berry. From Leisure Services, get ready for floor hockey's back for boys and girls 5 to 12. Kids will enjoy 4 weeks of action-packed games. No experience is necessary. Takes place on Sundays at 12, 1, and 2 p.m. Cost is $40 for resident, $45 for 9. Registrations accepted at Parks and Rec. Next, dance lessons, everything in dance for kids ages 2 to 6. Classes begin the week of February 15th, and reservations accepted at Leisure Services. Cost is $50 a resident, $55 for non-residents. On Tuesday, February 16th, from 3 to 4:30 p.m., a movement workshop for seniors is available. Workshop is presented by Health Quest Physical Therapy. Pre-registration is required for this cost-free program. And 55 and older friends, it's time to start changing the way you view your immune system. It's a stay healthy all year long. This hour-long informational session takes place on Wednesday, February 24th from 1 to 2 p.m. at the Senior Center. This is a free offering and pre-registration is required. Thank you, Clerk Berry.
Thank you, trustee Demink. Treasurer Elliott.
The township offices will be closed this coming Monday, February 15th for President's Day. Therefore, property taxes will be due Tuesday, February 16th. You may pay online at chesterfieldtwp.org. Click on the tax information and then enter your last name or address. Scroll to the Pay Now link. Under the payment options, you can choose credit or debit card or EFT check. The EFT check option is a great contactless way to have your funds pulled directly from your account for a flat rate of $1.95, regardless of the amount of your tax bill. You may also pay by phone at 844-973-1674. Additional fees may apply. We are receiving quite a few calls about the garbage cart program. You may order garbage carts online under the garbage collection tab. You may also order recycling and compost carts. Compost carts are for food scraps, yard trimmings, and paper. Recycling carts are for items like cardboard, magazines, junk mail, steel and tin cans, glass jars, plastic jugs. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Elliott. Are there any other board members who would like to give a department report? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comments on the consent agenda items are permitted. 7A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 26, 2021, and the special board meeting of February 2nd, 2021. 7B, approval of the agenda with addendum if necessary. And item 7C, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Do I have a motion to approve
the consent agenda as presented? Demink?
Motion by trustee Demink. Do I have support?
Support, Joseph.
Support by trustee Joseph. Discussion. There is no discussion on this item. Deputy Clerk Niza, do we have any public comments submitted on the consent agenda?
No, we do not.
There are no public comments on the consent agenda. We have a motion on the floor by trustee Demink, supported by trustee Joseph, to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Seeing none, the consent agenda passes. On to the regular agenda, item 8A, a recommendation to approve the allocation of the 2021 Community Development Block Grant Public Service Funds as follows. Chesterfield Senior Programming, $12,350. Care House, $8,400. Turning Point, $1,000. Wigs for Kids, $1,000. McRest, $1,000. Total CDBG Public Service Funds, $23,750. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Joseph?
Motion by trustee Joseph, supported by trustee Vosberg. Discussion. Deputy Clerk Nysa, do we have any public comments on agenda item 8A?
Clerk Berry, we do not.
Thank you. Seeing no public comments and with no further discussion, we have a motion by trustee Joseph, supported by trustee Vosberg, to approve regular agenda item 8A as stated. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Berry. Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Agenda item 8B is to approve a request by the Assessing Department to adopt Resolution 2021-07, Real Property Tax Poverty Exemption.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Anderson.
Support.
Was that trustee Vosberg or treasurer Elliott?
Elliott.
Elliott. Thank you. Supported by treasurer Elliott. Discussion. Hearing none. Deputy Clerk Nysa, do we have any public comments submitted on this agenda item?
Currently, there are no public comments on this item.
And do we have any department heads willing to make or wishing to make comments? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor by trustee Anderson, supported by treasurer Elliott, to approve and adopt resolution number 2021-07, Real Property Tax Poverty Exemption. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry. Aye. Motion passes. Regular agenda item 8C is to approve a recommendation by Facilities and Operations Department to purchase a 2021 Altoz TRX Model 7661 all-terrain multi-use mower in the amount of $19,500 from GL number 101-265-970-000. Do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved. Demink.
Motion by Demink, and is there support? Support by trustee Vosberg. Discussion.
Yes.
Yes, trustee Joseph.
I'm assuming Mr. Johnson is here to speak on this issue. I just had a couple of questions regarding the selection of this particular piece of equipment. I thought I recognized the in the executive summary, Mr. Johnson, are you here to speak on this issue tonight?
Actually, Trustee Joseph, it's Mr. Sonnenberg.
Oh, Mr. Sonnenberg, I
Yes,
thought
sir.
this was prepared by Mr. Coddington, so I assumed Mr. Johnson, but, okay. So in the executive summary, the procurement details indicate that that this was in terms of bids, let me just go a different route. In terms of bids, this was somewhat of a unique piece of equipment, and I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Sure, I absolutely would be happy to. So this particular piece of equipment, after doing some, getting to know our fleet a little bit better with our new fleet manager and going through a lot of our equipment, this actually does multiple things. One of the biggest issues we've had, and I've experienced it myself, is out at Pollard, especially in the spring and when we get a lot of heavy rain, those fields, they don't have a lot of good drainage in the outfield. So we get stuck. A lot of times with the mowers, we have problems cutting. It's been a historic issue since I've been here. And then also when we do where there's any grade differentials, like in a retention pond or this or that, our traditional mowers, and we don't cut as much grass. That's the other thing. So
Right.
this piece of equipment is really like a multi-use. It's actually going to replace a mower and a tractor. So this has a brush hog deck on it, where our typical mowers, when we pull a trailer, we have to have a tractor with a brush hog kit, where this kind of replaces that. And it solves a problem for us on the fields at Pollard. What we would happen to do with the regular mowers, with the regular tires, is we'd wind up tearing up the outfields if we got any rain in the spring, because we couldn't get a nice cut. So we actually brought one of these out last year and we put it through the paces, and we were so impressed that I actually reached out to several other landscapers that had them and purchased them. And everybody had such good things to say about them, that after we kind of did an assessment of what pieces of equipment, you'll see in the future how this year, especially, we're going to buy a couple new pieces of equipment. We're going to use this particular piece to replace some other ones. Now, to answer your question, you're right. It's such a unique piece of equipment that there's really nothing similar to exactly with this track setup. There's ones that are kind of close, like add-on features, but they're not built with these tracks. These particular tracks, everybody I've talked to haven't had a lot of problems with them. They're built really well, so you kind of get what you pay for. It's a really durable machine. Like I said, it has a brush hog deck, but it cuts better than some of our finish mowers. So that's why we chose to go this route. We're trying to buy one tool for multiple things.
So I'm just curious, again, I looked at this item, and as I, again, just spending a few minutes looking at comparable models. So I think the uniqueness of this piece of equipment is that the rear wheels are not actually wheels, that it is, it more resembles that of a tank. It has a belt drive rear axle, if you will. And if I understood from the executive summary, that you displace some of the weight of the machine, so that you're not rutting and creating damage to the turf in the conditions you described, so in the spring. But there was a comparable model that does not possess the track system, but it has a dual rear wheel, and it's actually wider than the tracks, and that was a machine offered through Cub Cadet. It's their Pro Z series, and the rear axle has two rubber wheels, which actually have a wider displacement and less ground pressure than the Altoz. It has a number of the same features. It actually has a bit more horsepower and wider cutting deck. It has all of the features as the Altoz, and it comes in about 10% cheaper. And I was just wondering, had the team looked at comparable models? It's Cub Cadet has a number of distribution sites. I'm not sure if this projected purchaser has the contract with Cub Cadet, but it's available in the county from a number of local dealers. And I was just wondering if we had checked that one out.
That is a fantastic question. And yes, we did. We had a local landscaper who actually does a lot of sports fields and had one. And he didn't really have too much bad to say, but he said same thing. When you get in wet grass and wet areas, he also said he would recommend this. He actually tested the same unit, and they were talking about getting the same one. It's just a newer piece of equipment, so there's not that much comparables. But we tried to explore every other possible option. And one of the things too we plan on using this for is a lot of the some of the local homeowners associations pay the DPW to cut the retention ponds. And they've been using a tractor historically for that. And that's also what this piece of equipment will be used for. So we're planning on doing some large banks and this and that. So the turning radius on this, because of it doesn't have such wide wheels, you get a lot tighter turns, and in some of those little corners and stuff, we're able to get a lot closer to the fence. So there was some advantages to driving it, with a tighter, smaller wheelbase.
No, I appreciate that. And as I compared these models, I just wanted to point out to you that both the Altos and the one that I suggested that you look at were zero turn machines. So they provide that flexibility. The one issue that you mentioned, which, again, if your mind is made up, I'm okay with it. But when you compare model to model, the incline, the bank that you can operate the machine safely, which we have a number of these, especially when you start getting into culverts and things, the ability to safely maintain the cutting surface at a incline was actually greater on this Cub Cadet. Again, this is your field of expertise. I was just curious if we had individuals that tested these machines or were relying on others to give us feedback. But if you're comfortable with it, I'll end my questioning.
We are comfortable, Trustee Joseph, and I'll send you kind of the comparison we did just to kind of break it down a little bit more so you can see. We did a lot of homework behind the scenes. I know the summary was pretty light with details, but we did try to cover all of our bases. And obviously this is a big purchase for us. So we wanted to be responsible and buy what we thought would be the best use of the taxpayers' dollars.
Thank you.
I have a question to Mr.
Yes,
Sundberg.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just point of clarification. It'll be our facilities and operations personnel that'll be utilizing this piece of machinery and not the township contracted vendor. I'm correct?
You are correct. And as we do less and less landscaping, there'll still be some specialty items we'll do. Like Pollard Park, when the diamonds are wet, we're always touching those up. This will be a piece of equipment we'll use along some of our shorelines, like our new Brandenburg Park shoreline and around Weber Paddle Park, where the areas get a little bit wet, or if we got to cut, if we go back to cutting Phragmites in those areas, in those specialty areas, we'll always need a mower, some type of equipment. So we're looking for something that's a little bit diverse, but we don't plan on replacing our current landscape vendor. He's actually been doing a fantastic job. This is just a piece of equipment. As we phase out some of our old mowers, it's more like a Swiss Army knife for us, does multiple things.
And it has a good warranty on it or maintenance agreement?
It does. It has a 3-year engine, a 2-year transmission, and a 1-year bumper to bumper.
Okay. Thank you.
I got a question for Josh.
Yes.
Josh, on this Altoz, this is new to me. It's from also being in the business. So this is, the mower just comes like this. This is not just an add-on feature where they take the rear wheels off and put the track system on, like
Correct. That's
an
what's
X-Mark or a Bobcat, correct? This is the way it's designed. So there's
Correct.
no wheels. It's just the diamond-shaped track system with a high lift track.
This was designed correct from the ground up for this particular application. Yeah, that's what makes it unique. And the control and the ride are pretty amazing. I mean, we actually spent, a good day on this thing and put it through all the paces, and we're really impressed by the unit. And then, like we said, we reached out to a lot of vendors that use them, and you can see on the internet, you really can't find a lot of negative news about them. They're pretty impressive machines.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Appreciate your
You're
time,
welcome.
sir.
Works well on Phragmites. Oh, forget that one.
Are there any other questions for Director Sonnenberg? Any other board members which wish to be heard on this item? Seeing none, Deputy Clerk Niza, do we have any public comments submitted on this agenda item?
Clerk Berry, we do not have any other comments on this item.
Thank you. Seeing no and hearing no public comments and all board members have been heard, we have a motion on the floor by Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 8C as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you, Director Son.
Thank you.
Item 8D is to approve a recommendation by Public Works to move forward with the planning stage of the 2021 New Haven Water Main Project by utilizing the services of Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick, Inc., AEW, at an estimated design cost of $13,700 from GL number 59100015000. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion by trustee Vosberg, supported by treasurer Elliott to approve item 8D. Discussion. I believe we have Assistant Director Johnson here with us this evening. Are there any questions for Director Johnson, or Director Johnson? Do you have any, Assistant Director Johnson, do you have any comments to make on this?
I'll just start real quick. I know Trustee Joseph already had a question, but just to preface real quick, you know, Monicati Auto Sales was putting a second building on the back of their property. And during a lot of the meetings we had, the fire department required that a hydrant be within 300 feet of this building for it to get built. So the fire department approved them to continue building as long as as long as we were on the path to, get water main to that spot. Now, typically on a property such as like Pollard Park, as you see in front of us here, typically anytime water main gets installed, we require that it go all the way through the property. You don't just stop midway. We're not really sure why at Pollard Park it was stopped midway. This was done in the early 90s. So I'm not really sure why it was stopped right before the entranceway, but typically at a project that should have gone all the way to the northwest corner of our property there, and then we could have continued on. Nonetheless, as a part of this project, we have to obviously continue it along Pollard. There's a small piece of a DTE property right next to us, and then there's Monicati Auto Sales, which they've already paid their debt service or front benefit from our prior fees. So that's already been paid for by that property. So it's ready to go to that point. We can get to that point. It's about 1,200 feet of water main. We're going to use plastic water main in this instance instead of ductile iron because there's a 6-inch gas line that runs along the street, and it just avoids electrolysis where that can eat the pipe away faster if it was ductile iron. So we're going to use plastic to avoid that and prevent that from wearing the pipe out faster. So based on that, we're right in the frontage of that property, and then a small piece across New Haven Road there to prepare for 25, just because we're going to be down there to prepare to, if we ever got to extend along 25, it's ready to go. And that's typically standard practice from any kind of project. And the goal is to have that done in the next, 3-4 months.
Thank you, Assistant Director Johnson. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have a couple.
Trustee Joseph, please.
Thank you, Clerk Berry. Mr. Johnson, just you indicated in the executive summary that the business at that location, primarily the biggest one out there, is Monicati. I was on the planning commission when they brought their plans forward. That was a very I don't want to say abandoned, but it wasn't a very vibrant portion of our township. And Mr. Monicati and his partner came into planning, and they laid out a really just a very innovative plan to breathe some life into the north end of that township, of our township. And to bring the parcel up to code, we had some concerns about sidewalks and so forth. And they're out, as everybody knows, in the middle of nowhere. So the idea of piling onto their project with some very expensive sidewalks when there's no foot traffic, was problematic. So it was a very difficult process to bring that building, and then they had a fire very early on in the construction. And so they've really overcome tremendous obstacles to get that, dealership running. Mr. Monicati comes from a long line of car dealers, and they're building their brand, continuing their brand on just excellent customer service and just great value. They're no shocker to me that their business is taking off and they're looking for expansion. The problem comes in now as they build out. They have requirements with regard to the fire suppression, which is what this agenda item looks to address. I'm concerned. I'm concerned for small business owners in that it's difficult for them to make their way through all of the requirements that the township imposes. And so there's been a lot of inconsistencies with that property, including the work that was done by AEW many years ago to lay out that fence line and where boundaries end and begin and who's responsible for what. And in that confusion and in that uncertainty to some extent, I'm most interested in making sure that our team has communicated with the business owner and that the fees that they've already paid to move forward with their expansion are not going to be sort of lost in the shuffle, and that midway through, closer to, certificate of occupancy, they're hit with a heavy bill to connect to fire suppression. So in short, in just condensing my narrative here, is it your opinion that Monocotti has satisfied all of the requirements needed to continue with their expansion and provide fire suppression in accordance with township ordinance?
I believe, I can double check with the fire department. I do believe they're not actually installing a fire suppression line into that rear property. The building is small enough or doesn't actually need fire suppression put into it. The hydrant should suffice. I can double check with the fire department to make sure. What they told us per their requirements is just a fire hydrant was needed nearby so that they could fight a fire in case this building, something were to happen to their business. So that would lead me to believe there is not fire suppression in the building, so there should not be an additional fee for a fire suppression line. If they were to add that in the future, there would be a cost.
So just to clarify then, you're right, and I want to make sure my question is accurate.
Okay.
The requirement is that they must have a hydrant within 300 feet of their new building. And the agenda item that we're talking about now would put the line in close enough proximity to satisfy that 300-foot hydrant requirement, but there is no expense from Monocotti. They're not going to get a bill that says, hey, you need to have a line or a hydrant, and so the cost of this line rests with the property owner or the business owner.
Correct. Yes.
They've already paid the fees necessary. There's no additional cost for Monocotti to have the township put a hydrant within 300 feet of their building. Correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other board members that would wish to make a comment or have any questions for Kevin? Seeing none.
Clerk Berry, I'm sorry. Clerk Berry, I'm sorry. I paused because I wanted to give anybody else an opportunity in round one. I had an additional question, and I don't know who's prepared to answer it with regard to this vendor. And so, if I may, the question that I had was in dealing with why we consider this procurement support, and in the executive summary, a sole source vendor, bids not required. And for the record, I've been highly dissatisfied with AEW's work at this parcel, and they are not the only engineering firm that has contract with the township. So is there a reason that this is considered a sole source vendor when we have one, an in-house engineer, and two, other engineers that are part of our vendor relationship?
Yeah, so I can answer that, Trustee Joseph. So back in the early 90s, the AEW, or back in 2001, they already designed the water main along New Haven Road up to 26, then 26 to Gratiot, and then actually 26 mile all the way 94. So they already kind of had this done in the past. So the fee they're charging us this time is not, it's a much more pared down fee because they've already done some of the design. What we're doing now is shifting the water main from the west side of the road to the east side of the road because it makes more sense. So there's less work to do because they've already done it. So that's kind of why we chose them, because the work is already partially done. There's no point to have to recreate the wheel. That's why we went with them again, to since it was already kind of redone, done in the past.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may, Clerk Berry.
Yes, please. Trustee Joseph.
So AEW had the contract to do the original survey out at Pollard Park, and if you recall, we had a situation where the park was actually on the property that we were utilizing park land, which was actually owned by a independent individual. If you recall, the township made a purchase of a small piece of property adjacent to Pollard Park because our survey work was inaccurate, and we actually have a fence line that goes down an individual's land that we had fenced in Pollard Park erroneously. And that AEW, as you mentioned, they did the original survey work. We purchased the property to make the easement appropriate. And the last time I was out at Pollard Park, we've had no changes in the surveying and the fence lines. So if AEW has been the original, and in my opinion, it's been botched for a number of years, why continue there? What is it? Where is the confidence in the AEW assessment of this piece of property now as it relates to the survey work?
I understand what you're saying. I don't want to use this. I was not around at the time, so I don't want to speak of who did that survey and who botched it or whatnot, because I was not I wasn't working here at the time. I just know working with in the past few, right, currently it's Lou Urban. He's been doing a fantastic job on a lot of stuff we're doing. And so while it might be the same company that's doing the work, the person we're dealing with is different. And I feel like we can rely on Lou to be very thorough and efficient in what he's tackling. And so far, since he's been with us for, I believe, about a year and a half now, I feel he's been doing a very good job for AEW.
I appreciate your response, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. No further questions, Clerk Berry.
Yeah, Clerk Berry.
Yes, Trustee Anderson.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Johnson, I respect your opinion here, but I think Mr. Joseph, his words kind of ring true in the way I look at this, especially with AEW. Maybe with time I'll have more faith in that entity, but at this point, I don't feel comfortable. I'll let it go right there.
Understood. Appreciate your comments.
Any other board members wishing to make a comment? Trustee Vosberg or Trustee DeMink or Treasurer Elliott? No? Okay. Seeing no additional board comments, Deputy Clerk Nyza, do we have any public comments submitted on this agenda item?
There are no public comments submitted on this item.
Thank you. Seeing no public comments and all board comments having been heard, we have a motion on the floor by Trustee Vosberg, supported by Treasurer Elliott, to approve a recommendation by Public Works to move forward with the planning stage of the 2021 New Haven Water Main project by utilizing the services of AEW at an estimated design cost of $13,700 from GL number 59100015000. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Clerk Berry. Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next item is the addendum. Thank you, Assistant Director Johnson. Item 9 is the addendum. We have no addendums this evening. Number 10 is public comments. There is a 5-minute time limit on public comments. Deputy Clerk Nyza, have any public comments been submitted via the online submission form?
At this point, we have 2 public comments. I will read the first public comment from resident Paul Lafata. Chesterfield senior residents are more important than the fish in Anchor Bay or inviting the ear-shattering noise of F-35A jet planes to take off and land at Selfridge Air Base. Chesterfield's current demographics, SEMCOG, population approximately 47,000 residents. 14% are 65 years of age or older. That equates to 6,580 senior residents at the highest risk of severe illness or even death if exposed to COVID-19. And that risk has recently intensified with the new, more contagious variants. I must applaud Macomb County Executive Mark Hackle for the county has a class act for administering the vaccine. The county health facility is extremely organized, from the road signs that guide you every step of the way to the correct building, through the check-in and paperwork validation, vaccine administration, second appointment schedule, until an aide opens the door for you, wishing you had a nice day as you leave. Of the 6,580 senior residents, some have little to no computer skills. Some do not own or even have access to a computer. The issue seniors need help making and getting a vaccination appointment, and the county needs more vaccine. I received a phone call from an 80-year-old frustrated Chesterfield resident asking how to get an appointment at the county, as he just spent 2 hours on the phone listening to busy signals. I tried to explain how I got mine using the online process. This Wednesday, I received an email from the same senior resident that was not successful on Tuesday and mentioned that he contacted Chesterfield's Leisure Services for help and suggested that Supervisor Acciavatti get involved. Providing a service for any Chesterfield senior who is asking for help should be a priority. Making and getting an appointment is the most critical step and the most difficult part of the process for Chesterfield's seniors. Every employee in the Clerks and Leisure Services Department received a new laptop computer paid through the Federal CARES Act. There are no added costs to utilize township employees and new laptops every Tuesday from 8:30 a.m. till 10 a.m., helping Chesterfield seniors. Adding a service without added cost that is both novel and efficient. Agendas or priorities. Was it the $750 million carrot or peer pressure? Supervisor Acciavatti sponsored 2 F-35A resolutions for Chesterfield board approval, and if the 14 members of the Michigan Senate and Congress that sent us a signed letter of support on November 25th, 2019 to the Secretary of the Air Force were as intense in procuring additional COVID-19 vaccine for the state of Michigan as they were trying to bring A-35As to suffrage, it would help. Helping Chesterfield seniors to get vaccinated and procuring additional vaccine may not get you the front page of the Voice, like dedicating a nature center or fish habitat prior to election time, but this type of effort would be better served for all Michigan residents. And then we have another public comment, Clerk Berry. This one is from Joe Kadish, Chesterfield, Michigan. I want to publicly thank Amanda Bowers of the former Senior Center Department for her help in securing COVID vaccine slot from the county for me this morning. She worked on her computer starting at 8:30 a.m. trying to get onto the county schedule program and succeeded. I was also trying at home both on the computer and on the phone without success. I kept getting messages on the computer that their servers were overloaded and the phone lines kept getting busy signals. It's the same thing I've encountered for the last 2 to 3 weeks. The county is inundated with requests for COVID vaccine shots because there are over 185,000 seniors trying to get scheduled each Tuesday morning. The odds of getting through are probably 1 in 185,000 between 8 and 9 o'clock when all the available slots are scheduled. During the last board meeting, I requested that Supervisor Acciavatti set up our own vaccine clinic in Chesterfield so we wouldn't have to compete with the other 150,000 seniors and then the rest of the 870,000 people in the county as the restrictions on who gets vaccinated are expanded. Chesterfield is only 5% of the county population, with about 45,000 residents, of which about 6,500 are seniors. The county program will take close to about a year to complete, even if Hackle manages to obtain greater quantities of the vaccine, and there is no assurance that that 5% of the vaccine will go to Chesterfield residents every week. If you set up your own clinic, we would be sure that this happens. You refused that by saying you were talking to Hackle about him setting up a clinic here. That won't happen since we're only 5% of his total population, and there is no incentive for him to do that. I'm sure you received COVID relief funds last year from the county, state, or both. And the only thing I'm aware that they were spent on was for bonuses for employees working through the COVID shutdown. There is still about 10 million in the general fund that could be used to start a clinic should you want to do so. You could use township employees from office staff, public safety, and even MedStar to man the clinic along with volunteers and part-time hired help. You would get more recognition and credit doing this than for buying land for a nature center, making the park prettier, or adding a fish habitat. Please, this is the right thing to do. Clerk Berry, I'm going to check and see if any more comments came in on this.
Okay.
I do not see any other comments.
Seeing no further public comments are closed. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is board comments. And tonight, I think we'll start with Trustee Demink.
Just want to tell everybody, be safe with all this cold weather. It's definitely going to be bad for another week or two. And if you do have pets or you see some poor animals outside, please bring yours in or talk to the people who left them outside. This is deadly for the poor animals. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. I'd like to commend my fellow board members for your civility and professionalism during the endeavors of tonight. Irregardless of any discussions we had, it was truly refreshing. Thank you all, and I'd like everyone to stay healthy. Good night.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Clerk Berry. Nice job running the meeting tonight, by the way. I'll start with just an update. There was no department report regarding the relationship that Trustee Anderson and I have as the board liaisons to the Public Safety Department. We do have some big news that we will present at the next board meeting, and that has to do with the accreditation process that the department is currently undergoing. Just an intense amount of outside scrutiny, looking at everything from best practices to policies, procedures, and training, and you name it. And the Public Safety Department is being scrutinized from top to bottom. So I expect that we will have some additional information on our next board meeting. Trustee Anderson and I are scheduled to meet with Director Kirsten and his administrative team for our monthly meeting tomorrow at lunch, and we will report back to you in 2 weeks. With regard to the public comments tonight, I understood where Treasurer Lafata was going with regard to the needs of our seniors in our community, and he expressed that at the last board meeting, and I know that Leisure Services Director Amanda Bowers was very, very receptive to that, and she actually utilizes her time on Tuesday mornings along with some of her staff to try to help seniors if they have provided her with their information that is needed, because as another speaker or commenter reported, Mr. Kadich, it is kind of been reduced to a lottery system, if you will. So the county gets their shipment of vaccines on Monday. They know how many doses are available to be distributed through the health department. And then on Tuesday morning, they open up the phone lines and the online scheduling, and they schedule until the dosage that they've received that week have been exhausted. And then the website and the phone lines are shut down. And that usually takes, there's been some changes in the county. They've brought in some outside vendors to try to handle that with more bandwidth and server, capacity. But that usually, those dosages are usually gobbled up within an hour. So they open the phone lines at 8:30, and so when the dosages that have arrived in the county's control have been exhausted, everything is shut down at that point, and it does very much become, as has been described, as a lottery system. I was fortunate enough to help my grandmother, who's 95, get one of those slots, and as Mr. LaFata pointed out, the professionalism and the just top-notch operation the county has brought in contracted staff, nursing staff, and logistics staff. She's needs a wheelchair to sort of navigate the premises, and the ability to accommodate seniors really was quite impressive. And everybody there, despite the frustration and the lack of patience, was just completely professional, and I was grateful that she was able to get her vaccination. The difficulty comes in as the governor has authorized immunizations or vaccinations to be inclusive of 1B, which are first responders, teachers, municipal employees. So this idea that the CARES Act money, which bought laptops for the township employees that are coming into work every day and trying to serve the public are in the 1B category, they're in the same position as everybody else who's 1A or 1B eligible, and that is trying to secure a vaccination for themselves. So for Ms. Bowers to reach out and assist the residents is very typical of our township employees. They just do phenomenal work, and they go above and beyond in most instances. I wish that the county would adopt a queue system, as has been utilized in Oakland County, where you call in if you're an eligible vaccine recipient, you get put on a list, you're given a date and a time, and that is the process. The county in Macomb has adopted this first call-in system, and so it creates this mad rush every Tuesday morning at 8:30, and it is terribly frustrating. And Mr. Kadich is 100% right, as is Treasurer LaFata, that some of our seniors are really in a handicapped situation in terms of being able to navigate the online issues. So kudos to Ms. Bowers and her team for trying to do whatever they can for Chesterfield residents and securing a vaccination for Mr. Kadich, and I am very much appreciative of her team. Lastly, just a very quick shout out to our township employees that do all of the heavy lifting in our township. We have tonight, as evidenced, I think Clerk Berry said that she was coming to us from Florida, and I'm not sure where Supervisor Acciavatti is tonight, but I'm assuming with 2/3 of the full-time elected officials on vacation, I would make sure to urge Treasurer Elliott to take your vitamins, because if you're not there, nobody's there. And that means that everything is being done by the department heads and the township employees, who are often overlooked. So thank you to them for continuing their hard work, in spite of the fact that most of our elected officials full-time are on vacation. So thank you for that.
Trustee Vosberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Clerk. Good job tonight. I too I feel for the people trying to get in line for an immunization. I happen to be part of the group that qualifies. I've not been able to get in yet either. And I would concur with the comments by Trustee Joseph. It's really up to the county to be able to administer those. And even if we set up a clinic here, it would still have to be available for all county residents. So I don't see how that would help at this point when there's so few immunizations available. If anyone wants to complain about it, it really needs to go to the office of the county executive, because as reported, the health department's doing the best job they possibly can. So I would encourage people who send an email to the county executive's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vosberg. Treasurer Elliott.
Thank you, Clerk Berry, and thank you. You did a great job tonight. And thank you, Trustee Joseph, for the advice on taking my vitamins. I do every day. And I do want to touch base on the public comments. So I was on a call last week with officials from all over, from all of the municipalities, and they were starting to do a inventory of who had a space or the proper space when they do have enough vaccines to be able to bring them mobily to every city and township. So we did, of course, say that you can bring them here to the township offices and we'll help support in any way that we can. On a personal note, this Sunday, I had called up to my dad, who lives about 3 hours north of here. He's 84 years old. He has COPD and about 30% heart capacity. He hasn't left his house very much in the last year. And we talked about some football. And then I asked him if he was able to get the vaccine or if he had support. And unfortunately, he doesn't have the support level that we have here. So he is not able to call and express very much the same frustration as others. And hopefully I can intervene for him when the next available vaccine in his community is available. So I think this sounds to me like this is something that is a frustration by many. I want to thank everybody and stay warm and stay healthy.
Thank you, Treasurer Elliott. And for myself, thank you, my fellow board members, for making this an easy meeting to chair. Everyone was wonderful and I think went very, very well. I'd like to thank all of you for that. Although I would really love to be on vacation, unfortunately, I haven't been able to take one yet. I was in meetings most of the day, just happened to be in a different location, and we all know with COVID protocols and Zoom, we're all having to do things a little bit differently than we normally would. But I'm hoping to perhaps take a couple of weeks and vacation with Trustee Joseph at the Pinery. I know it's his favorite, and I heard wonderful things about it. I hope they open that border, so maybe we can explore that. And so would love to do that. But I am happy to at least be somewhere where it's a little bit warmer, but that won't be for too much longer. So thank you very much, everyone, this evening. Those conclude my comments. We're going to move on to now item 12, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Demink.
Support.
I'll second that. That's a motion we have a motion on the floor by Trustee Demink, seconded by Clerk Berry to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes and we are adjourned at 7:55 p.m. Thank you,
Night,
board.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.